call the regular City Commission meeting of March the 12th, 2019 to order. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amy, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Kuziak?
Here.
Commissioner Peary?
Here.
Commissioner Scott?
Here.
Commissioner Wall?
Yes, I'm here.
Here. Yes, you are. First item on the agenda is public discussion. Items not on the agenda.
We implore you.
You seem to have everything.
I guess so. I was so hoping there was some talk about having a couple of the high school students from the play come.
Oh.
Their rehearsal probably went a little long, or
Maybe they'll come late.
Should we
they
talk
may,
about it?
they may come late. We should talk about
Oh,
it.
you
want
would?
to talk about
That
it?
would fall under.
I was prepared to talk about, but
We'll talk about it during your part.
I thought Amy was gonna
Right.
bring the students,
right.
but so we can wait, and if she shows up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy had promised to try to bring a couple students, but this is their, opening night is on Friday, so this last week is always tension-filled and long rehearsals and trying to get everything right. So they may still be in rehearsal.
It's Adam's family, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's so cool.
Yep. Yep. So, all right. No other public discussion items. All right. We will move on to governmental reports.
Chief not here?
Everybody looks around. You're it.
Hi, Mayor, Commissioners. Jack Boucher, met you 2 months ago.
Hey.
Yep.
I don't have anything major to report. I just want to remind people, the people at home and the people in the audience, to check their smoke alarms. It's that time where you spring forward with the time change. It's always a good rule of thumb. Have a smoke alarm on every level of the house. In each sleeping quarters, have a smoke alarm, and then one outside the sleeping quarters within 10 feet. Also, it's good to have a fire extinguisher on each floor and a CO detector. If anyone needs help with smoke alarm assistance, we offer that through the fire department. Dial the non-emergency 248-546-2510, extension 302, and we'll come out and install or check them for you.
When should they
Terrific.
replace refired?
What's that?
The alarms, how often should we replace them?
Well, now they have 10-year alarms. They're sealed batteries, and it's a 10-year battery. But I still want you to check them every 6 months, because I have smoke alarms in my house. I put 10-year batteries before the sealed ones, and some of them only lasted about 5 years. So it's good to check them every 6 months. If you have an alarm that's older than 10 years, recycle it and buy yourself a new one. Okay?
Great.
All right.
Thank you. It's great
Thank
advice.
you.
Thank you very much. We have no police reports or anything else. All right. Moving on through. Okay, no other governmental reports. We will move to the City Commission liaison reports. And we'll start with Commissioner Perry, Planning DDA.
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning Commission and DDA did not meet this past month, but we will be meeting on Monday, April 22nd. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Okay, be there. All right, Commissioner Scott, Historical Commission.
Yes, just a quick note. The Historical Commission will be having an open house on May 1st. Just an opportunity to come in and see what's in the museum and check the files on your particular house to see what might be of interest about your home and to meet the members of the Historical Commission. So mark your calendars for that date.
Will there be cookies?
I believe it's 6 to 8 o'clock. There'll be more information
Better
that
be cookies.
is sent out about that. We'll probably have cookies. We'll talk.
If there's room. It's a,
We will now.
That's the nice thing about being here. We can just mention it and suddenly there's cookies.
there's cookies. Amy's magic.
That's right.
Just go.
There you go. And then our next meeting will be Wednesday, April 3rd, I believe. 7 o'clock at the Rec Center.
Excellent, excellent. Okay.
Oh, it's here. That's right. Sorry. That's it.
Here.
Here.
Okay, thanks. Here. Okay, Commissioner Wall, Recreation Commission.
Hi. So we did not have a meeting, but we have one this month, Wednesday, the 27th at 7 p.m. Should come. And there's a pancake breakfast coming up next month, the 13th, and the Easter egg hunt. And I'm gonna make a plug for the auction. This is the last. This is Friday's the last day to get your tickets for the low price of $40 on the website. That's a $20 savings. It'd be
Nice.
$60. So we should go and support our city, and
Yep.
we can do wonderful things together.
What's the date of the auction?
Oh, right. it's the third Thursday in May, I believe. It's the
third
Saturday, the 18th.
Yes.
The 18th.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
18th. Yeah, it's a 100-year anniversary, so it'll be a big celebration. Very good time.
Nice.
Friday's
Our own Dan Riley providing beer from Axel.
Yes.
Right?
Italian catering, very delicious. Local Vince Rizzo, very good.
Nice.
I'm glad for our residents.
Oh.
It's not on a Thursday because Friday would be tough.
Did I say Thursday?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, it's not. And then so we're also doing a contest about come up with a good flavor for the 100-year Pleasant Ridge flavor, and Street Dreams will produce it for our auction.
Ice cream?
Ice cream.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Names. Okay. Everybody get your names in.
Yes, get your names. Let me know.
Will do. Thank you. Commissioner Kuziak, Ferndale Public Schools.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot going on this past month in the Ferndale Public Schools. This was a very exciting event. It was called the Build It Construction 2019 event. And this was actually a collaboration between our own Iron Ridge Marketplace, Pathway X Events. They hosted the Ferndale 8th graders and high school students. This was a showcase event that aimed to expose students to career paths in high-demand trade industries by showcasing local construction businesses and apprenticeship training programs. Students engaged in hands-on activities and demonstrations with real businesses, from operating tools to riding in simulators. The trade skills were highlighted, and students were presented with the pathways to earn their way to those occupations. I'm actually a skilled trades person myself. I'm a union electrician at Ford Motor Company, and I believe this is a very rewarding career path for many young adults. And I was really glad to see that the Build It construction event happened and the participation of the Iron Ridge Marketplace. I think it's just a great opportunity to expose young students to this as a career path, especially, I have young children myself. The cost of college is very scary. So just keeping this as a consideration, I think, for everyone in our community. If you have young adults or young children, I was so really grateful to see that this event took place. On top of that, and in that spirit, Oakland County is having an apprenticeship showcase. This is Wednesday, March 13th, 6:30 to 8:30 at Oakland Community College in the Auburn Hills campus. This is a partnership between Oakland Community College, Oakland Schools, and Oakland County Michigan Works. So this is another great opportunity to be exposed to a career in the trades. Another event that's happening, and this is an ongoing event in the Ferndale Public Schools, it's called Girls Go Cyber, and it's a series of digital challenges designed to introduce young women to careers in cybersecurity. This group is meeting Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays at the Ferndale High School in room 114 from 3 to 4 p.m. And this program will start March 21st. So there's a lot of enthusiasm behind Girls Go Cyber as well. I have it in my notes. I know Amy and the kids were going to be here.
They're here.
That's a good segue.
Perfect segue. I don't know if there she is. I'm doing the liaison report.
Okay.
Did you guys want to chime in on the Adams Family production?
Yes.
I think this is a great opportunity to do so.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do it now. Yeah.
Woohoo!
Come on up.
Hi.
Welcome. Hello. After a long night of rehearsal.
Yes, I'm Zoe Butters, and I'm a junior at Ferndale High School, and we all go to Ferndale, and we're all in the Adams Family production, which opens this weekend. We all live in Pleasant Ridge, so yeah, that's why we're the ones who are here. And we're here to tell you some statistics about the Adams Family.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. We love statistics.
6. That's the number of performances that we will be putting on March 15th, 16th, 17th, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Fridays and Saturdays at 7:30, and Sundays at 3.
Great.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Kristen. I am a freshman at Ferndale High School, and I am Spotlight in the crew. 800, the approximate number of seats we hope to fill every night in the FHS auditorium for the show.
Excellent.
Good.
Okay, I'm BB Butters. I'm a freshman and I play Pugsley in the cast. 10 is the number of dollars it would take for an adult to buy a ticket to our wonderful show, or for seniors and students, it's 5.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Nice.
Excellent. You're back.
Stage fright.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm also Wednesday, so
Ah,
yeah. 250 is the number of lawn signs we have available to post around town. So if you want one, you should get one.
Yeah,
Oh.
Sure.
How do we get it? How do we
Can
get
you
it?
leave
We're
some?
gonna leave them. We have them in the
Okay,
box.
Okay, good.
excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Yay!
22 plus number of FHS productions that this show's costumes have been used for in the past.
Oh,
Wow.
You
nice.
can't wait. You can't leave until you tell us your name.
Yeah.
We don't even know
I
who
am
you
Logan
are.
Stoll.
Thank you, Logan Stoll.
Thank you.
Do this one.
Try that.
And then just do that one.
Okay. 7 is the number of roles we have double casted in our show. We have 2 Morticias, 2 Wednesdays, 2 Puglies, 2 Uncle Festers, 2 Grandmas, 2 Alices, and 2 Mals. 15 is the number of our ancestors, and 2 are the number of actors in Iguanador costume.
Iguanodon.
Iguanodon.
Whoa. Iguanodon?
Me.
That is
And
Logan.
our last.
Introduce Logan as well.
Oh,
Logan is one of the
Logan's an
Iguanodons.
Iguanodon. Okay, and our last statistic.
One more. Hey,
It's Joseph.
Say your name and tell her what to say.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Hi, Megan.
I'm Megan Hanks. I'm in the chorus and I'm also the moon, so
Oh,
yeah, it's fun.
very cool.
Okay, we have a banjo-lele in the show. We have 1. It's pretty fun. Cool. Yay! Yeah. And
I'll
we
catch your
have,
mother.
we've done basically all of them.
Your mother's listening, so you better do it.
And we have a moving rat on stage that's supposed to scare people. It's It kinda does. cool. It does. And then we have a really creepy hand that crawls.
That's
One
Thing,
thing,
if you're
yeah.
familiar with the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Can we take a picture?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're your
I would
biggest
hope
fans.
so.
the commission.
Whatever that'll do for you. I don't know. Did you bring the moving rat? That's
Yeah.
Pleasant Ridges love rats.
Oh yeah.
Can we buy tickets at the door?
Yes.
Yes.
You can buy tickets at the door.
We have them at Fort Ridge.
Oh, and at 4
We have tickets at Fort Ridge too for sale.
Okay, tickets at
Cool.
Fort Ridge.
Jim, are you like hiding in the
I am hiding.
Jim does a lot of that.
1, 2, 3. All right.
All right.
Thanks for putting in a little extra time and coming to talk to us. That was,
That was awesome.
we really,
That was fun.
we do appreciate it. We'll see you this
take
weekend or
time.
next, definitely.
Right.
Yeah. So
Leave us some signs.
I love the Addams Family.
Okay, thank you.
Cute.
That was the cutest.
That was
that was very cute. Don't know how I could top it. The only way I
Be
could
cute,
top
come on.
it is if people are interested in the Ferndale Youth Assistance, the 39th recognition celebration. This will be happening on Thursday, March 28th at 6:30 to 8 p.m. at University High School. Oh, I wish I had led with this. I wanted to congratulate the Ferndale Eagles basketball team. I don't know if the members of this group have been keeping tabs, but they made an exciting run into the playoffs. Their last second win over Detroit Douglas was the result of a tip-in by senior Tianta McKeithen, who scored the last second winner to advance them in the playoffs over Detroit Douglas. Unfortunately, they lost their next game and were exited, but they had a great season, making it to the final 16 teams in the state in Division II. So that's quite the accomplishment for the basketball team. The Ferndale High School Winter Guard took home first place at the Troy Athens competition. The FHS student athlete Angel DeFrey Marrero earned all-state honors by placing sixth at the state championship held at Ford Field. So quite the honor for Angel. And Fuel, Ferndale Upper Elementary School, was named an Evergreen School. Green School is a countywide designation, and the Fuel Green Team will attend the countywide award celebration to be held at the Detroit Zoo. That's all I have. The Superintendent's Excellence Award, I did want to mention this. It went to a Ferndale High School senior, Chloe Farah. Amazing story. Chloe has quite the accomplishments at a young age. She has already been accepted to the University of Michigan School of Engineering with honors. She was the leader, and I know there are some members who are familiar with the robotics team who are here just a moment ago. She is actually the leader of the robotics team. She gives all her teammates and fellow students enthusiastic support, and this is what I thought was really cool. She, in addition to everything else she has going on, she started a Lego robotics team for the elementary students to pass on the experience that she had gained over her years participating in the robotics program.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, it was a great recognition for Chloe Farah. And that's all I have this month, Mayor. The next school board meeting will be Monday, March 18th at 7 o'clock at the Ferndale High School Media Center. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very good. All right. Any items, questions, clarifications, additions? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have 6 items on the consent agenda. I think one that's of particular interesting is Pleasant Ridge Historical Museum mission statement is one of them. I'm not going to read that or the others. It's in the packet. It's up online, and so please, if you are interested in the mission statement, which is a good one. It's brief. People will remember it. Well done. It captures what a mission statement should be. So I'm going to ask, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion? Amy, can you call?
Commissioner Wall?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyk?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Metzger?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to the next item, the Pleasant Ridge Garden Club Memorial Park Fountain Presentation.
Yay.
Jim, do you want to set it up? Before Robert's just gonna jump right in. Okay.
No, I'd love a setup.
Robert Campbell, immediate past president of the Garden Club, and I believe you've been spearheading this effort. Requested some time to come talk to the commission about a project that they've taken on, which is replacing the fountain in Memorial Park. It's for a few years now, it's been pretty much done, and just awaiting replacement, removal or replacement. The city's Parks and Rec master plan identified this as one of the projects that the community wanted to see, but it was prioritized as a priority 3 project, which means it's a few years out before the city would get to it. We have some priority 1 and priority 2 projects we need to tackle, and that's going to take 2 or 3 years really to get through that list of projects. So the Memorial Park fountain, from the city's perspective, would be a project that will be out probably 3 or 4 years from now. In the meantime, the Garden Club is motivated to get that replaced, and so I think Robert's here to tell us about their plan.
Yeah.
And I think he's here to basically just ask the city permission to locate this in our park. So, with that,
That's it.
We need dimensions. We need everything from you.
No, as Mayor Bookman said, I think we started discussions on this. I'm sorry. City manager. Sorry.
It's okay.
That's what you told me to say, right?
Well done.
But I think we started talking about this, in my notes, back in July of 2017, recognizing that it was an issue. We've gone down many roads. Of course, we tried to look at repairing, which at this point, when everything was considered, it came to a cost of $22,000. So when we got that final bill, and that would just be repairing, and who knows how long that would last, we thought, it's probably better to just look at new. So many went out and got proposals. Jim actually, I think, got some numbers around some. Our club members got some numbers. And long story short, many companies just aren't interested in doing that kind of a job. It's just, believe it or not, too small for them. So we did settle in on Aquafina. We've got a quote. I do want to say nothing is signed. We've had verbal discussions with them, and we feel pretty good about going with Aquafina. They've been very helpful. I know they've been to the city a few times. And what you have before you there is the option of a carved granite, three-tiered fountain. And one of the, attractions to it is the maintenance. Because as you all know, the maintenance with the old one was a real issue. So we're trying to avoid that. It's not going to be as elaborate. You'll see that at the base, there is no pond, if you will, or basin collecting the water that falls from the last bowl. But when you add that, you double the price. And you probably quadruple the headaches. So we're keeping it a little bit simpler. We're told by the representative of Aquafina that this will probably, believe it or not, give us more splash, more sound, which was part of our thought with Memorial. We wanted it to be more reflective, and with Woodward going by, that can maybe be a challenge. So that's one of the goals here, is to have a little bit of a distraction to the road noise. It measures about 85 inches high and I think about 59 in diameter. It's about 3,500 pounds. What is, again, nice about it is the pump could actually fit in that pedestal, the support pedestal, although the company is recommending putting it in ground. And I got real nervous when I heard that, because Scott can well attest that when it's in ground, we have issues. But it's a submersible pump, so it can be in ground. And the actual, the regulator, let me look at my notes here, because, the autofill. The autofill is actually mechanical, so it's not electric. So I say all that to say this: it really should be, nothing is foolproof, but it should be, pretty easy to maintain. You may then ask, what is maintenance on this?
What is maintenance on this?
Thank you for asking. I asked, again, our representative at Aquafina is Matt. And he indicated that you're really checking for debris, and you're checking, to make sure there's no algae growing in it. But he said with the amount of wind that we get and evaporation and the autofill water that we have, that would be very minimal. So he said maybe $10 a month on algicide. And that really, somebody checking it, and then the algicide, that is what he's forecasting as being the maintenance on it. Pumps, for this one, he's saying maybe 4 to 5 years, and it costs about $50 to $100. So there again, nothing that is going to break a budget.
So what was it? $50 to
$50 for a pump, and it would last, he's saying, about 4 years. One other, so in the past we've had to shrink wrap or vacuum pack, whatever you want to call it, the fountain to, you were out there with your hairdryer, weren't you? Yeah. But on this one, we have the option of drilling holes in the bowls so the water would drain out and we wouldn't have standing water that would then compromise during the winter with the freeze-thaw cycles. We wouldn't have to shrink wrap this. It's granite. So I think from a aesthetics standpoint, you've probably got a nicer product than what we've maybe been used to. We have a durable product, and we have a product that is pretty low maintenance, you know, both from a physical standpoint and a monetary standpoint. With that, I think I've covered the main topics. Maybe I should open it up for questions.
Yeah. Questions for Robert?
So, yeah, Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. So we started to talk about this project. We started seeing about it over the past, really over the past couple of days. I heard about it a little bit earlier from you because we were talking about some fundraising efforts.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the way that you guys are funding this? It's like, so the Garden Club is talking about funding this.
Yeah.
Maybe with...
So the cost, and when they gave the proposal, they've got a cost of about, well, it goes from $23,700 up to $27 something.
Okay.
And with a median cost, because you have labor, you know, there's a lot of unknowns in there that would take, you know, put that $3,000 or $4,000 range in. So we're using the median of $25,000, let's say $500, as our working. We have from the Garden Club $7,000 budgeted, and of course we do fundraisers every year that, you know, bring in several $1,000s. We approached the Historical Commission, but they've got funds that they have to work towards putting with our 100-year anniversaries. You know, we have a lot of 100-year-old homes coming up, and those plaques aren't cheap, so their funds are going towards that and some other things as well. We approached the foundation, and I can't say formally what number they're able to give us.
Okay.
My belief, and just based on some informal conversations with them, I think it'll be pretty substantial. But what I'd really like to focus on, and would be, you know, very interested in your help, is how we could involve the community to put money towards this. I would like to propose that we call it the Centennial Fountain in honor of our, you know, 100-year birthday, if you will, celebration.
Ribbon cutting.
Yeah, that would be nice. There's been other suggestions that Anne has actually proposed, and you know, along the lines of champagne party maybe, and bubble blowing, for the kids. So there are things that I think we could do. The Garden Club is at the garden quite a bit, you know, doing their work, and we have heard so many passerbyers, you know, just lament not having the fountain. And actually, you know, it's probably one of the most popular spots in our city for non-Ridgers and Ridgers to come and take photographs. I mean, there's weddings and graduations, and people just like that setting. So I think, you know, not only do the Ridgers enjoy that spot, and it's an important spot historically, you know, it's a memorial park, and I think it deserves, you know, the importance of having. It doesn't have to be a fountain, but that's what we've had, and I think that tradition is nicely carried on with this proposal.
No, I think it's great. I think it's a great, you know, I know I hear from residents all the time, you know, they want the fountain working, and they're looking for that quite a bit. I think, it's a very good, strong idea. Do you have any questions or anything?
Mayor? No, I would agree that it's been a topic in the Historical Commission. We've heard it talked about in the city. It's been a question about what kind of fountain to put there, what sort of style, and this seems to, you know, replace in style what is already there. I don't know how large the one that is already there. I don't know how it compares in size.
I'm told a little smaller than what this one is.
Right.
This looks
maybe
smaller.
a little taller, but maybe a little less
But if this is
narrow.
80,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
this is 7 feet.
Yeah.
I think a water feature is just nice. I think it adds a lot to it.
Along your comment, though, we we did go out and try to, get different designs and look at everything. And I'm just going to be quite honest with you. This particular fountain was largely selected because it happened to be in their possession and we could get a better deal on it. If you go out and you try to order something, or it would cost us even more.
I was thinking practically double.
Yeah, and we thought, this works, and the material is perfect, granite,
It is.
and we thought we hit it pretty lucky finding that.
Well, I think it's a beautiful and generous idea for the garden club to do. I think, I don't know, how do you feel? I know we were talking about a little bit about ongoing maintenance and everything, and we're not sure, so do we, I know maintenance is a little bit of an unknown. Like, we can hope for, the replacement pumps periodically, but not.
I think my goal is this. As you all know, the garden club takes on the responsibility of a few gardens in our community. Memorial being one of them. Of course, the wildflower. We added the butterfly garden. We have Stevenson, and then we did the armillary. And we plant those. We take care of those. With the city's help, we also get some help from the city as far as pruning and some bigger maintenance that sometimes we identify. It is the thought and hope that the garden club will probably name that section. So where the fountain is, you have those quadrants that have the bushes and the flowers, right? That's all part of Memorial Park, of course. The thought is, with this new fountain, we would designate the fountain part of it, the inner circle, as the Centennial Fountain Garden. And so, because you don't have that basin, if you see in that left-hand screen, we used to have a basin of water there.
Right.
We're going to have plantings there. So that's gonna be the garden club's responsibility. Now, we then look back to the community to support us on our fundraisers so that we have those revenues to then reinvest back into the city. And might I add that we are a 501c3. I should look at the camera. We are a 501c3. And but we're seriously looking for donations. And if businesses want to get involved or individuals want to get involved and have feel good about where their money's going, but also get a donation, a charitable contribution, we or the foundation are your people.
So we're looking at doing like a social and maybe an event or two to help. Okay.
I would like that. But I will tell you, one other thing I thought about. There's going to be a plinth of about 6 or 8 inches under that, a concrete plinth that this would stand on.
Okay.
So that our plantings then go around that and we're not covering the fountain. So to give it maybe even a little bit more stature as well.
Nice.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
In terms of timing, when would you?
That's the good news or the bad news, however you want to look at it. And we feel like we've been working with the city on this for quite a while, but I understand for the community this just seems to be happening like right away. I get that, but we've been working on it since July of 2017 is my first note that I can see on it. I talked to the vendor today, and he said if we could, give him a formal commitment in the way of the contract, he thinks he's pretty close. We could have it by Memorial, which would be really nice. That was always our original focus, but if we want to look at fundraising and take it a little bit slower, then we can do that as well. And I would look to the body in front of me to give that feedback to us.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are you? It's an odd question. Maybe is the garden club asking to be borrowed the money from the city to start now? And wait for the loan. Wait for the fundraising to catch up, or what are you? What do you need?
Good question. And I won't know the answer to that until I meet with a foundation on the 21st and get their formal response. We may need a little bit of a loan. At one point that was an option. I'm not sure if that still is or not, but again, we raise a fair amount between our greens workshop and our home for the holiday. So if we do need a loan, I don't think it'll take us that long to repay it.
But you might not.
May not. I'll know more after the meeting with the foundation. And the unknown is how big of a response we may see from the community. Because a lot of people have said how much they want it, and I'm wondering if this might be something that they're willing to donate to.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that this is such, and especially if you call it the Centennial Fountain, Centennial Garden, this is something that people can really kind of see as a great asset for the community and would want to give money. If you know from the foundation by the 21st of this month what they're going to add, then we know what kind of the nut that we have to meet. You could quickly put up some kind of reaching out to the community to talk about it with pictures and you know, this kind of information. I think people would rally around it. And I, you know, personally, I mean, I know that the Garden Club does wonderful things. But I think, like the foundation some years ago, the community is not aware of all that you do. And this would really kind of galvanize people around. This is a central point, but look at all the other things that the Garden Club does to keep the city, you know, it took a long time, the foundation, we didn't have, a lot of people didn't know what the foundation, now all the documents, all the postings, everything has a list of all the contributions, what it's done. I think it's made a big difference for the foundation and people coming out. I think it would be great. We would love to promote, you know, all the work that the Garden Club does.
And the, you know, with the 100-year celebrations, the timing is probably good to put some wind behind the sails for the Garden Club.
Well, and all the plantings you guys do that we don't really always note they make such a difference.
Well, along that whole vein, you know, it was Garden Club Foundation and Historical Commission that got together to do the lampposts in Stevenson Park. And I think, you know, that was a concerted effort that we all kind of pulled our monies together. City got involved as well. And, you know, we look at that now and we see something tangible that, you know, we gave back to the city. And of course, all of the monies that we raise pretty much go back to the city. As the Garden Club, we do have some scholarships that we support as well, but most of it comes back to the city.
That's cool. So I think one of the bigger questions is sort of the ongoing maintenance and things like that. And we were talking about, I mean, does it seem like it's something that we could help support if the maintenance is going to be minimal, or?
I'm hoping that if the maintenance is going to be minimal, that the Garden Club can keep, you know, I would rather that the city not have to start, you know, we don't know what's ahead, but it sounds that Aquafina is giving you a pretty good idea of what minimal maintenance that we should be able, you know, people could, I don't know if people can walk along and get rid of, you know, take leaves and stuff out of there. And throw in some little bit of algae preventer or something, but.
I guess what I was wondering is if our whomever we contract through for our city services, if when they're in the gardens, they can't, you know, throw an eye over to the fountain and see if it needs to be scooped out. I mean, I'd like to think that maybe we could ask them of that, but as far as the costs go, it's so minimal. And what I'm asking the company to do is give us a tutorial of what needs to be done and how often. And you know, if somebody from the city wants to attend that, somebody from the Garden Club, you know, whomever, just so that we have it covered, I think that would be the best approach. And they're not saying automatically that we'll need this chlorine or bromine to, you know, but if algae forms, then you will. But he really kind of believes that with the evaporation and the displacement of the water through wind, that it probably be very minimal.
Sounds great. I mean, it really. Any other questions from?
So So you're pretty much just asking permission to pursue this.
Yeah. I mean, it's city ground. It's you know, it's the city's memorial park. I think how it came about was when, as Jim not our mayor, but city manager, indicated that, the funds just weren't there for several years, and that fountain is literally falling apart. I mean, it's we tried to plant it, and then you're trying to get people to water it, every day, and it's just kind of a mess. So that's how this kind of came about for the garden club to kind of take ownership and say, let's see what we can do. How far can we take this?
Okay.
Yeah, I think my only thought is that if the cost of the installation and the replacement are the garden clubs, then it makes sense. The cost of maintenance is probably something we can manage if it's relatively low.
Yeah.
But at some point in time,
we can work
20,
through
30 years from now, we'll have the same conversation again about
Maybe 50.
You know what? The fact that it's granite, I
should
think
be a
we're in
while.
pretty good.
Yes.
We're in pretty good shape.
Yes.
It's not Haddon stone, which our other was
Exactly.
made out of.
It should be a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just great to hear that the expected maintenance is very minimal.
Yeah.
Is the plinth is concrete?
Concrete.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And the idea was to paint that black. So kind of
Will it be visible?
We don't know the exact plantings yet. We haven't come up with that. It is a garden club full of ideas. Slash opinions.
They're all behind you. They're all behind you listening, Robert. Be careful. That's right.
Pitchforks there.
But sharp garden tools.
Right. The reason I ask is it is a memorial park. So there might be some memorial content that could go on the concrete.
Got it. Yes. We did have some discussions about putting some type of a label like Centennial Fountain and putting the years, something like that on there.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
What was you guys had ideas up at the thing that's in this park? What is that called?
Armillary?
Yeah. There was an idea for some sort of a it sounded like something that was like in the round as well.
Oh,
but I don't remember.
I'm not
right
sure
now.
about that. Yeah. There we have our past presidents in the bricks on the ground there.
That's cool.
Cool.
Very good.
All right.
Okay.
So, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'm going to ask
The floor is yours.
if we have a motion.
Your
to
Honor,
approve.
thank you. Your Honor, I move the Pleasant Ridge Garden Club be authorized to remove and replace the existing fountain in Memorial Park, and the cost of the removal and replacement be assumed by the Pleasant Ridge Garden Club.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Bless you.
Bless you. Okay, Amy, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Wall?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Metzger?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Garden Club. This is going to be
Thank
exciting.
you. It's exciting.
Looking forward to it. Yep. All right. Next item on the agenda, establishing a public hearing on Tuesday, April 9th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. to solicit public comments on an ordinance to amend Chapter 42, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 1, in general, by the addition of a new section, Section 42-14, Marijuana Establishments Prohibited. Jim.
Yes, as discussed and directed by the commission last month, we've prepared an ordinance that would serve as our opt-out from the recreational marijuana law. This would opt us out for now and until this ordinance is repealed or amended by a successor ordinance to not allow recreational marijuana establishments in the city of Pleasant Ridge. This was one motion from last month. The other one was to proceed with a public input process, which is our next agenda item. Tonight, this item is before you to call for a public hearing, which would occur at the April 9, 2019 meeting. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from Commission? For Jim? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the establishment of public hearing?
Your Honor, I move that the public hearing be established for Tuesday, April 9th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. to solicit public comments on the ordinance to amend Chapter 42, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 1, in general, by the addition of a new section, Section 42-14, Marijuana Establishments Prohibited.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. Just wanted to say thank you to Greg and Jim for preparing the commission with the information on this issue. I know it's a fluid environment that municipalities exist in currently because of the nature of the referendum that was approved in November. So there's still moving parts here, and I appreciate the caution and the the desire to have some rock solid answers on some of these pending issues that we have, particularly on our ability to zone these establishments and our ability to enforce design standards on these establishments. I know there's been some legal question, and I think that legal question has yet to be resolved. Looking forward to the governor to issue the guidelines through the licensing agency at the state level, should clarify some of these. But my understanding from our council is that some of these issues may not be entirely 100% wrapped up for many, many years, based on the legal issues present in the case, in the idea of municipalities and their ability to regulate these establishments. I think we have some precedent with the Medical Marijuana Act that's been the law of the land now since, in the state of Michigan, since 2008. So we have a pretty good idea, I would say, about the way forward and how that law has been enacted. I know Governor Whitmer has taken this issue very seriously and has no intention to leave municipalities out in the wind hanging on a lot of these issues. That being said, like has been communicated, some of these issues are probably destined for litigation. I know other communities in the area are proceeding with the attitude of allowing these in the city, even aware of some of the legal issues present. I know one of the big sticking points is our ability to zone and distinctly say, hey, we will allow these, but only on Woodward, or we'll only allow these at the Iron Ridge complex. We don't have a definitive answer one way or the other. The Medical Marijuana Act explicitly gives municipalities that right. The recreational referendum doesn't clearly state that. So that needs to be understood, and we need to have the ability to do that. Having looked at the legal framework of our ability to zone a business, a private business, through the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, which was approved in 2006, and just the legal history going all the way to the Supreme Court at both the state and the federal level, our ability to zone is pretty fundamental as far as our abilities as a municipality. Taking that right away, I think, would go against a lot of legal precedent and the legislation that gives us the right to enable. Now, I've been made aware by Greg and Jim that the sticking point really is that the law as adopted in November doesn't specify that. So we don't, according to that law, and we will be enabling these licenses under that law, we don't have a definitive 100% answer on our ability to zone those. Greg has been very helpful. Jim has been helpful in letting this group understand that there is legal precedent for city zoning. That's how they function. That's how we're able to have different zones established in our community for residential and businesses and other activities. So I believe, I'm confident that we will have that ability. It's not explicitly in the law, so it's a gray area. Also, our ability to regulate the design standards, that's also been an issue that people have been concerned about. Just in the last 2 years, we established design standards in the city of Pleasant Ridge, and we've enforced those design standards. And again, the law, as approved by referendum in November, doesn't clearly expressly give us that right. And there's a legal argument why we don't have that right. I also believe there's a legal argument that says we do have that right to regulate these establishments from a design perspective. We will see. That's all needs to be worked out. my position, and people, I mean, I know this has been commented, why are you obsessed with marijuana? I'm not obsessed with marijuana. I don't smoke marijuana. I'm not financially involved in any kind of marijuana business. I just continue to believe that this will be a financial benefit to our community, and I believe that properly zoned and regulated, it'll have minimal impact in our community. That remains my position, and that is why I'll be voting against establishing a public hearing to prohibit, because I believe that there's still enough time for us to do the survey, to get some answers from the state, and still make a decision before the end of the year. So that's my perspective on it, and I appreciate the opportunity to say that.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. Commissioner Scott.
Where I disagree with Commissioner Krzywiak is the time element. We know that the state will make some decisions on regulatory factors. There's a period of time between they make their decisions and when we get our zoning in place. And in that period of time, someone could request a license. And we have no legal reason to deny them access to our city based on whatever the state of Michigan has required. Because we won't have had time to put our own rules in place, whether that is to opt out or to opt in or to do something in the middle. And so to me, opting out is the best possible path to ensure that the state's rules are in place. And then we give ourselves time to understand what is best to do for the city of Pleasant Ridge. Our public hearing gives citizens the opportunity to speak about their opinions, and so I will definitely be voting in favor of this because I am very interested in hearing what the residents of Pleasant Ridge feel about this topic. It has not been voted on in the sense of understanding what types of businesses should be in Pleasant Ridge. We literally have no idea what the 1,100 some odd households feel in Pleasant Ridge about this topic, and we need to give ourselves that opportunity to get that input. So that's what I'm hoping we get from the public hearing, and if the measure moves forward to have a public hearing, I'm hoping as many residents that are interested participate.
There. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
And mine, I go even just a little bit further with timing on this whole opting out. You know, what I see, you know, Pleasant Ridge, as I said last time, we didn't get a liquor license until, you know, 2009, 2010. And something like this, we don't know what the impact is going to be on the residents around that or how it will impact our town, you know, let alone what all the specific zoning laws and things like that will be. So it's like there is no rush. You know, it's one of those things you can play the long game and just sort of wait and see how it does impact, you know, in different communities around us as they do opt in and make those choices and what limitations they can put on it. So I think it especially with us, it's like the city manager made a good point of, it's like if we do this to one neighborhood, we ruin, you know, a large portion of the city versus like Royal Oak might be able to go to one, you know, certain area or something, and it won't have the same impact it would on us as a whole. Thank you.
And just to clarify, that this is a public hearing on the opt-out, on voting to opt out currently, with the idea we opt out now and we wait as the legislation is continued to be massaged and all the directives come out and we understand more about what we can and can't do. We are going to, in addition, have a public input survey and we're going to have a town hall. This is going to allow us to understand what the residents of Pleasant Ridge want. Do they want establishments? Just because we've opted out at the present time, if we get, you know, the resident input is, yes, please, we want to participate in whatever way we can. Then we can start to write, you know, we have not put ourselves out of the market. We can at any time turn around and start working on the opting in legislation, the ordinances, as we understand what the state is doing and what their regulations are. So really we're opting out at the present, we would be opting out at the present time. This public hearing would be about that. But then we would also, this is following that, we are also collecting input from the community. This is not, this public hearing, while people can come and talk about whether they want us to opt out or not, this is not the end all and be all. We are going to have a town hall, a full town hall. We are going to have a survey that's going to be online and on paper and distributed as much as possible. So we want the input, and this is just one step in a fairly long process that I see. So,
Mayor, I
Yes.
neglected to say something. And there are 6 kinds of businesses that are under consideration in the current regulation. So while we focus on what we would consider a storefront type business, there are 5 other kinds around the transportation and growing and testing and what have you. So I do encourage people to go to the LARA website and just, if you're interested in this topic, just become more interested and familiar by reading all of the entanglements associated with this. It's easy to focus on what a storefront might mean to Pleasant Ridge, but it may not be as pleasant to have someone growing in their basement either. So these are the kinds of things that we have to think about as we go through what it might mean to Pleasant Ridge, and we welcome your input.
and just one more to piggyback on that is some of those 6 types of businesses do not result in any kind of income for the city of Pleasant Ridge. They are not taxed. So therefore, no money would come. If we don't get retail businesses, if we get business-to-business kind of operations or wholesalers, we don't get tax revenue. So, and so those are a lot, that's part of also the discussion. So we can't just look at this as all money either, that it's guaranteed either you're going to get taxes or if you don't opt in, you're going to lose some windfall of money. That's not a guarantee either. So, and we don't even know what the likely top dollar, the dollar amount will be. So it's still a lot of things to be discussed, and we're trying to put all that information online. Put that information online and keep everybody informed, but again, we will be bringing that information to town halls, and we also have this survey which gives a lot of introductory information. So, is there any other discussion before we take a vote?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I would just like to clarify and a point that Commissioner Scott made. The basement growing is going to happen. There's nothing that we can do about the basement growing. And I know Commissioner Perry and Tom and I went to the Royal Oak work session just to kind of get a feel for their discussions. And one of the focuses of their conversation was the neighborhoods are going to be affected by this regardless of what the city does, because the state law gives residents the personal right to grow. So your neighbors are going to be growing marijuana if that's what they choose to do, and they're legally allowed to do that right now, and there's nothing we can do or the state can do to stop that. Just that's right. I mean, is that right, Greg?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a certain ability for your own recreational use.
It's 12 plants.
12 plants.
Yeah.
12 plants. It's not a grow lab.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the growing of our neighbors is going to happen. The smoking, people smoking on the properties is going to happen. So the question is really our ability on the business side of it.
Sure. Is it a home occupation, for example?
Right.
That's something we might be able to zone or maybe not. We have to wait and find out.
Okay. Any other? Yes, Jim.
And just one thing, I know that Jason and I have had some discussions about how we're approaching this, and I'm approaching this from a fundamentally cautious standpoint. And part of the reason for that is we can say, okay, Berkeley's doing this, Royal Oak is doing this, Ferndale's looking at this. The difference is, all of those cities are 10 to 40 times our size, with 10 to 40 times our resources. And in discussing this with Greg and pretty much everybody, lawsuits are inevitable around this. When medical marijuana came out 10 years ago, lawsuits happened. And there was a long period of lawsuits and years that was clarifying what that law meant, how it worked. And they found that some things were so poorly conceived in the original law that there was then legislation that clarified what cities could and couldn't do from a zoning standpoint, because that was unclear in the original law 10 years ago for medical marijuana. And if I'm Royal Oak or Berkeley or Ferndale or Hazel Park or any of these cities, they simply have more resources to deal with fighting a lawsuit to clarify this information. For Pleasant Ridge to potentially open ourselves up to being the city that is clarifying that through a lawsuit, that's an expensive proposition. And we don't have a lot of resources available to do that. So that, those are, I guess, philosophically, some of this discussion that's happened, and I think you maybe can kind of feel the perspective from which I'm approaching it. That's a big part of it. So, the debate about whether or not we can or can't zone for these things, I don't know. It's uncertain at some level. I don't know if it's 10% uncertain or 90% uncertain, but it's uncertain. So there's risk there. So that's, I just want to clarify that's...
I think it's very important. I also just make the point that I noticed on the Berkeley survey on the question of where would you like to have these businesses, they give you 6 or 8 options, right? Berkeley has Coolidge, they've got 12 Mile, they've got industrial areas on Levin, everything else. We have 2 options. You got Woodward, and you got possibly Iron Ridge. That's it. I mean, so there's a lot of differences between Pleasant Ridge and any of these larger cities on many things. So just keep that in mind. Any other before we?
I would just, because I need clarification on the medical marijuana law, Greg, if you wouldn't mind. The medical marijuana law explicitly enables zoning for municipalities. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But, notwithstanding that, that's been litigated as well, because some communities attempted to prohibit outdoor growing of the Medicinal Marijuana Act, and the court said, no, you can't do that. Even though you have zoning authority, that's circumscribed. So, you were correct. Zoning is broadly accepted, but there are limits, and what the limits are here, as Jim said, is it here, we don't know that.
Right. But would it be reasonable to assume that if these zoning questions had been worked out under the Medical Marijuana Act, that would set precedent for this act?
Not necessarily, because the language of the statutes are different. Particularly because the Medicinal Marijuana Act, the Licensing Act, has that caveat that you're allowed to zone. The Recreational Marijuana Act talks about regulating time, place, and manner, and it sounds kind of the same, but legally they are 2 distinct concepts.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. Can we take a vote, please?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
No.
Commissioner Wall?
Yes.
Mayor Metzger?
Yes. Motion carries. We will have a public hearing on April 9th. Next item on the agenda is the Marijuana Establishment Public Input Survey.
Yes. Following last month, I worked on the first draft of the Marijuana Public Input Survey, along with the mayor, who has some expertise, I think, in data collection, and also with Tom Wilkinson, my neighbor, but also an interested resident in this who volunteered to help. So I was glad to have some.
Tom did all the work.
Some additional sharp minds to bounce these ideas off of. So the proposed survey is included in your packet for your review. We have some timelines that we could hit for distributing this and getting it out on the street. Online, through our digital and social media channels, the website, that's a given. That's going to be part of any publicity strategy. If we want to go quick with this, we have a ridger that's in production right now. And I've actually been, it's well down the road of production because it's delivered at the end of the month. But I have spoken about this with Shawnee and our designer for the document. And they've shuffled some things around and cleared up space on the back cover. So when the ridger comes, it's folded and the address is on one side. And then on the other side, on the outside edge, you always have that box with information. We could use that to publicize the survey. And the nice thing about that is it goes to every house. It's more likely that residents who may not read or open the ridger will see it because it's on the outside. And that also it doesn't get lost in the all the information that's on the inside of the ridger. So I think that would be a good and cost-effective manner to publicize the link or publicize the fact that the survey exists. So those are our thoughts on distributing it. The other option would be mail a postcard about the survey to every house with a link to the online survey. Of course, that's an extra mailing. We have to pay to produce and mail the postcard. That probably runs $750 to $1,000, maybe a little bit more, depending on the postcard that we choose. That would allow us to send the survey out a little bit later. But given that we have a ridger in the hopper and we have the space, it might make sense to do it now in conjunction with that. So with that, you have the survey. I'd welcome any comments or discussion on any of the items in here. I won't read it all, but happy to have your input.
Open it up. Anybody with input?
I like the idea of putting it on the back of the Ridger to help get the information out. I mean, that seems like that might be as effective as a postcard.
Right, every single person will get it.
Any- Go ahead. You're-
Looks great.
Okay. Do you, when do you think we're going to put it up there?
Well, the
When are the
Ridger's published. It's usually posted online at the end of the month, and then it usually, at the printer, we don't have control over when, because it's bulk mail.
Right.
So we don't have control about when it's delivered to houses exactly, but it usually comes in the first week or two of April. So we'd have the online survey ready to go as soon as it was sent over to the printer. So probably end of the month.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I would just like to say thanks to Tom, Jim, and yourself for working on it. I really like the idea of getting residents involved in kind of this stuff where especially if you have some history and experience participating in this process. So I was really glad to see that Tom was brought on board for that. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And it's luckily it's a very short 5-question survey.
Short is
It
good.
should move, yes, short is good. It just hits the major points. I mean, it's very similar in many ways to what Berkeley has. Berkeley had a 5-question. We have a slightly, I think, much better worded, much more comprehensive. I think it just flows. That the English language.
I could read it all day.
Really, I could too.
It's just good.
Reads well backwards too. It's really good. So very clear, gets right to the point, and it will feed that information that we'll then take to the town hall.
Right.
It will give us a lot of information that will then inform the discussion at the town hall that we will have sometime after that.
And people are more apt to fill it out if it's shorter.
That's right. That's right. We are going to try to make it as easy as possible.
Lots of times I get to a 6th question on something and I'm out.
That's
So
right.
5 is good.
That's your threshold.
All you got to do is fill in a couple little circles. That's all right. We're not even asking any open-ended questions. So, I mean, there are some if you say other and you write something, but it's pretty minimal. So, look forward to that. Next item, interlocal agreement between the City of Pleasant Ridge and the City of Ferndale regarding Woodward Heights Boulevard intersection construction.
Yes. As you may have heard, Ferndale is going to be reconstructing Woodward Heights from Bermuda, from basically the Heights Party Store, all the way into Hazel Park. And so Ferndale is requesting interlocal agreements with both us and with Hazel Park. The purpose of these is for them to build some of the project which falls within the boundaries of Pleasant Ridge, and then we take them backwards. The plan shows you what the plan is for the reconstruction of Woodward Heights at our intersection. You can see the dashed line running north-south through Bermuda and then kind of up in between the driveways. That's the boundary between Ferndale and Pleasant Ridge. So the west half of that intersection is ours, the east half is Ferndale's. And if you drive through that intersection, you know that the concrete's not in wonderful shape there. So if we weren't to do this, then Ferndale would be reconstructing to the middle of the intersection in asphalt, where it would then have that segment of lovely pothole patched concrete. So we're partnering with them to just do the entire intersection. And we're also incorporating some walkability improvements by constructing a bump out on the south side of the street, which you can see juts out from the south curb. So this is the existing condition. You can kind of see the patches and the condition of the pavement. And then this is with those potential improvements overlaid. And you can see that the bump out extends about the width of the parking lane, so it extends out about 8 feet. It's a 30-foot crossing at the moment. It'll be a 22-foot crossing, so it's a pretty good reduction. It adds a nice gateway element as you leave the 36-foot wide, more industrial character Woodward Heights and Ferndale. Narrows it, creates an entry point into Pleasant Ridge, a sense of arrival, I guess you could say. But it'll be an improvement. The other thing that you can see on there is those 2 white lines. That's the edge striping, which we discussed at the town hall. We're working with a contractor to do some pavement marking improvements throughout the city. Those will be done probably in May, we're thinking, depending on how soon we can get PK Contracting out here. They're the ones who do the road striping for pretty much every project in the world around here. So scheduling them is not an exact science, but we'll get them out there to do that as well. So we should have some nice improvements at this intersection.
That's cool.
Yeah. The total cost for this is $13,800 and change, so it's quite economical for all of this work, piggybacking it on top of a much, much larger project in Ferndale. Also of interest may be in Ferndale, you can see the bike lanes that they'll be adding. Delineated bike lanes, much like they have on Pinecrest, south of town. It'll be the same design here on Woodward Heights, so they will be improving biking infrastructure around the region, which is good to see. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Jim, I'm really glad this improvement is happening. As everybody knows, that whole area is problematic. All the way down, I know we've had some, we had the town hall, which was nicely attended, and we got some good resident feedback on Woodward Heights specifically. But this, I think, intersection, being on the borderline of Ferndale and Pleasant Ridge, just has always kind of been problematic. So I really love the interlocal cooperation that's going on between Ferndale and our office here. I want to get across Woodward Heights. My family and my neighbors, and we've all been navigating Woodward, this particular area. I won't say we're all going to liquor store, but I have been to that liquor store, as have my children. Hopefully for different purchases. But so this has always been kind of one of my worrisome locations when my kids tell me, "Hey, we're riding our bikes up to, the Heights." This is the area that concerns me. Because we've done such a great job with the park network, connecting the parks. There's really nowhere else where my kids, between my house, our house, and the Heights, where I have to worry about, but right here is problematic. So I know you've looked at this stretch. Where do you envision the safe crossings for pedestrians? I know it's marked there, but I also know there's apron for a home. There's a home there, right? Where do you envision the safe crossings in this area to be?
Well, you can see on here that there are improvements. The ladder striping or the zebra striping at the crosswalk, or the continental striping. There's a lot of different names for that. Will be that improves safety for one. You can see that there's the detectable warning landings. The reason that apron is so wide is because it actually is the landing for that crosswalk. It's not supposed to be part of that driveway. It really is the landing. Because if you look at the width of that versus the width of the driveway to the north of the sidewalk. So those will improve the safety conditions at this intersection. The fact also that we're reducing the width by 25%. So your crossing distance is less, your visibility will be better because that bump out gives better visibility for people waiting across the street. To motorists, that puts them out in the cone of vision a little bit better. Other things that I think we'll test here is the stop sign at the other Bermuda, Bermuda North, is being removed because it's actually a dangerous stop sign that's unwarranted and it decreases safety. But we'll be also doing some things at that crossing. The stop for pedestrians and the crosswalk signs. That will be part of the test. This is a location where we could test one of those as well. Oftentimes the challenge with those is you can't put them where there's driveways, but here we actually have enough radius area where people can get in and out of driveways that we have a location that we could put one of those signs. That improves safety. When we put those out on Ridge, there's a noticeable difference in driver behavior just because those were out there. And putting them in the middle of the street creates something that drivers have to pay attention to. And then they start to pay attention to when there's pedestrians around there. On Ridge, we observed, for the first time I've ever seen it, cars actually stop for people waiting to cross the street at other crosswalks that didn't have those stop for pedestrian signs. It kind of created virtuous behavior downstream on Ridge. So fully anticipate that it would make people sit up, pay attention, and be more aware of people trying to cross the street there. The traffic study that was done for the stop sign did find that there is a marginal warrant for a stop sign at this intersection based on the school traffic, because it creates some peak hour rush before and after school. So potentially we could install a stop sign at this intersection. That's not, we've been discussing that with Ferndale because it is in both communities. So that's something that we need to discuss with Ferndale, whether we're going to do this as a stop controlled intersection or not. I think the plan for now is to let Ferndale reconstruct the street, let us do the traffic calming measures, put the stop for pedestrian sign out there, test it, see how it works, see how people feel crossing the street there, see how traffic safety works, and then we'll reconsider the stop sign at this location in the future should we need it. So that's what I see here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I see that also if you go, what it would be, eastbound, there would also be the striping as Gainsborough connects with Woodward Heights.
Yes, and actually Ferndale has been working on a project. They're going to be doing, I think, a bike lane improvement on Gainsborough as it goes south. So Gainsborough is the next street over that kind of parallels the train tracks. And they're looking at putting in a bike lane. So that's actually going to be the better bike route to get into Ferndale because it's a much less heavily traveled street than Bermuda. If I was riding a bike, I would ride down, even though it takes you a little farther. If you're trying to get to downtown Ferndale, it takes you a little bit out of your way, but it's a much nicer journey. And there will be some bike markings on that street. And then, yes, there are some new pavement stripings that are going to go in at that Gainsborough intersection, both the Gainsborough coming from Pleasant Ridge and then the one further down, that will improve conditions and safety there as well.
Just crossing striping there?
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, there's the full plan set is in there, so you can see. I don't have it in the.
I'm hoping that some of these improvements will make that intersection better. With that Leonard Brothers building, it is so dangerous with a car. You have to pull in. You have to pull into Woodward Heights to be able to make sure that you see people coming over the tracks as well. And then people are trying to turn, you got to back up, and if somebody's behind you, which they were one time, you get surprised, So it's really poorly done. I don't know that they can do much with that building there, but so.
Well, the nice thing is
can't hurt.
The bike lanes.
Throw in some bike lanes.
Will help with some of the geometry there.
Yeah.
At that intersection, but yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that. Can't get any worse. I think, so.
Mayor, if I could just finish, I appreciate the question of the controlled stop at the Bermuda Woodward Heights intersection, and I understand kind of letting it play out. I just wanted to go on the record as saying I would like to see a stop sign there. If it's marginally justified, maybe we can examine that down the road, and I'm definitely comfortable, like you said, letting it play out a little. I know we've talked to some residents on the Woodward Heights, especially at the town hall, and I don't know, I won't speak for all of them, but I think they were comfortable with a stop sign there. If the stop sign at Bermuda is going to be, the northern Bermuda is going to be removed. So I appreciate the fact that we'll kind of keep tabs on that and revisit that, but I just want to say, I hope we can put a stop sign there if it warrants. That's what I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Any other points? Okay. Can I have a motion to authorize signing of the agreement?
Mayor?
This is your night.
I move the interlocal agreement between the City of Pleasant Ridge and the City of Ferndale regarding the Woodward Heights Boulevard / Bermuda Avenue intersection reconstruction project be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the agreement.
Second. Any further discussion? May we take a vote, please?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Wall?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Metzger?
Yes. Motion carries. Next item, I believe, city manager's report?
Yeah. One thing I want to give you an update on, because we were doing a lot of this, and then it's been a while now. Is just some updates on all of our energy savings projects that we've done. Especially, I want to say last year, but geez, 2 years ago now. We did a lot of work over at Fort Ridge. Specifically, we did the entire building. We retrofitted the lighting to all LED there, and then we put the solar panels in on the roof in September 2017. We've done some similar work at City Hall here. We did some roof insulation, and we've done some conversions to LED lighting, but this building is much smaller, and the impacts of that are also much smaller. But I just want to give you some data on what we've seen. We've seen a 30% reduction in total city energy use and cost.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we've seen an $8,125 savings for calendar year 2018 versus 2016, which was the last year that we kind of had the old dinosaur building versus the new whatever it is we have now. But we saved 67,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. The majority of our savings are in electricity because of this, and so I plugged this into the EPA's website. You may be able to read this, you may not, but some interesting factoids of all of that energy savings. We saved enough energy to charge 4,250,000 smartphones. Let's see what else. 3,751 gallons of gasoline consumed. 1.7 garbage trucks worth of waste being recycled instead of going to the landfill.
You could have had each of us say a number.
Had I known, would have had the script.
Could go round and round.
But this is a good one. We've sequestered or avoided generating the same amount of CO2 that's sequestered by almost 40 acres of forests in a year. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's great.
So yeah, it's working. The payback is about where we expected it to be when we were going through the pre-project calculations on these. So that's good. It's working as planned. Also, trees were trimmed on the east side with varying opinions on the matter. But the only thing I would say about that is the trees haven't had a good trimming or elevating in a long time. And really that's something that should be happening every 7 years, so it's a much more gradual process to elevate those trees up and get that canopy over the road. Since it's been so long, kind of playing catch up, it seems drastic now, but I think once summer comes and the trees leaf out, I think most people will like it. Some trees, there were some structural defects in the tree that were corrected, so it looked like a huge part of the tree was taken off, but really it was because sometimes you have junctions in the tree that are not good. Sometimes you have a good junction, sometimes you have a bad one, and those bad ones can cause structural problems in the tree over time, and it's important to get those corrected. And again, if that had been corrected when the tree was younger, it wouldn't have been as drastic as when it was done now, but I think that's some of, talking with the arborists from Davie, that's some of the issue on some of the trees that we've seen. So give it a chance. I think it's going to look real good. If you want to kind of get a picture of what it will look like eventually, go drive down Cambridge in between Ridge and Woodward. It's that cathedral of trees that you'll get to eventually. Our streets are outdoor rooms. We've had a really low ceiling. We've had a nice drop ceiling on a lot of the streets. So we're making it more of a cathedral look now. But we've gotten a few comments on that. Some good, some bad.
Thank you for bringing it up. I had a couple comments.
Be patient. The other thing is trimming the trees. I'm sorry, one last thing is it actually does spur them for more upward growth. So in the long run, it's for the good of the trees. And as we get on schedule and do this every 7 years now, won't be so drastic in the future. With that, if anyone has any questions on anything else, happy to answer them. If not,
just a quick one. Our streets between Kensington and Amherst have been sieged or besieged by power outages over the last winter. It just seems like it's been more than normal. Are there any consistent issues? Are they inconsistent? Any feedback from DTE that you might want to share? Sorry.
The mayor knows because I've been rattling cages. The mayor is now getting involved in rattling cages. And I think when you have mayor behind your name, they respond a little bit faster. Sometimes. But I think what it boils down to is we have 100-year-old overhead infrastructure. And short of burying all of those overhead lines, I don't know what's going to solve the issue. DTE certainly hasn't identified anything. The example everyone always points to is, oh, Ferndale did this a few years ago and they got some infrastructure upgrades. Well, that was because they had a substation there was a point source issue. And DTE upgraded that substation because the substation would overheat and short out in the summertime when electricity usage was high on a sunny day with no wind. We have a different situation with our circuits. I mean, I go out, I think I'm on a circuit that's on the far west side of Pleasant Ridge, so it's the west side of Maplefield, and Tom enjoys this along with me. We go out, I think, more than the rest of the west side because we're connected with Oak Park. We go down all the time too for no reason. I don't know what the answer is. I know that DTE has been out this week with their drone now. You may have seen the notice on the city website. They let us know the morning of that they were doing that.
Yeah, I know.
So they're looking into their infrastructure. If you didn't like the street tree trimming, just wait. Because
They're going to be in your backyards real soon.
Because they're coming to trim trees along the power lines this summer. And, you know, the more we complain about the reliability and the more we rattle their cage, the more likely they are to be more aggressive in trimming the trees that are in your backyards.
Yes.
So be prepared for that.
Yeah.
But again, they have a right of way around those lines. There's nothing the city can do, something you can do. They have to keep their lines clear.
And I think they can probably prove the point, not necessarily in Pleasant Ridge. I'm still waiting for the specifics.
I've been waiting for 2 years for specifics. I've always promised them and never delivered.
I got a note from the regional rep, not the VP that I talked to, who said, we've got the information because one of the questions was, how many outages have we had? How does that compare to other cities? Yada, yada. And what were the causes? And the message was, we got the information, but it's rather complicated. I think I need to talk to you.
Are you kidding?
So I'm going to have to talk to Michael, which should be tough.
Okay.
Good luck. So we do have that, but they tend to say that trees are the majority of their problems. And for those people on the south part of the east side where we were going to, well, some of you were going to miss out on the Michigan State game. I wasn't really that interested, but they are going to, sometime before May, they are going to complete this work on the substation on Hilton. They're upgrading a new substation on Hilton, which will be Ferndale, or at least the first few streets south of Woodward Heights. So, and it's it includes University Prep High School, so there's still this issue, do we do it on weekends, or do we do it during the day when it would shut down the school, or how can that be coordinated? But we are told that we will get a warning well in advance, not phone calls saying, that multiple phone calls giving different reasons for not doing it. So that will be coming up too.
I'm curious, Brett, or anyone who lives on the east side, did you get a letter from DTE?
Some people did.
Weird letter at the community center saying, "Hey, we're sorry that your power's been out, but we're working on it."
I got one at home, and then we got one at City Hall, and it referenced two separate. It was the same letter. It said, basically, we acknowledge there's been a lot of outages. We're looking into. We'll report back to you within 4 weeks.
Yeah, it was 4 weeks.
And then they had the circuit that you're on. And so, of course, the one I'm on at home is different than the one at City Hall here, so those are different circuits.
Yeah.
So they've done at least 2 of those.
This was last week, I want to say. The week I got it, I think Wednesday. Tuesday or Wednesday we got it.
No, we haven't got it. Because the city is on.
I think we have,
at least
4 or 5.
four
5 with
circuits.
This 4 little houses here.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, that's right. That one.
There's 5. There's like 5 houses on their
So
own
there are
circuit
five
right here.
5 different
5
circuits serving Pleasant Ridge. Yeah.
Of course, the one we're in is mostly Oak Park. A lot of the east side one goes into Royal Oak.
Yeah.
On the other side of the freeway. The one on the south end of town goes into Ferndale. So the problems may be in other communities. I don't know.
I do think your cage rattling, though, is having some effect because on the really windy Sunday a couple weeks ago, there were 4 DTE trucks sitting outside my house waiting. They were.
The wind died down, they left, and then the power went out. That was a
The amount of time the power was out was actually shorter because I think the trucks were ready, which is rather interesting.
Good. Did we lose it on that Sunday?
We lost it this Sunday.
Did. We lost
it this Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday.
And I think 2
So
Sundays ago.
we are doing our best. I know that very few people like DTE. I did find out that we have 6 DTE employees living within Pleasant Ridge.
yeah. Only six?
They did feed that, and we have no retirees. So Raj Talang, that's what they told me. They went through their files. That was one of the questions I gave them. So, we're not identifying those employees, but we will.
Yeah.
Certainly, we know who they are, and we will speak with them. So, but we're doing our best and to get DTE to respond, and I think, every step forward. Let's hope it's only a half step back instead of 2 steps back. We're trying. So. How's that electric? How's that? The poles? No, I don't even. We're not even going to go into the lighting. So that's whole another issue. Any questions for Jim? Anything else? Great. Okay. Then we will move on to our final item, which is other business. Anybody? I know we have a book. I just wanted. Before the book club, 73 days until the pool opens. Just so you know.
Wow.
Trying to be a little springy here. So flowers are starting to come out, we've noticed on our walks. So it's a good sign. Good sign. So.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Perhaps this could be a book you could read at the pool. I'm sure many are familiar with Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time. We didn't choose that. We chose the lighter reading. This is a short memoir about his brief history. This was suggested by a member of our book club, and I'm looking forward to reading it. The meeting for this book club will be a week from tomorrow, March 20th, Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the community center. So I have yet to get into it. It looks like a fairly brief account of pretty accomplished man's life, so I do look forward to getting to that one. And I did have one more thing I wanted to say. This being an election year, I know there's always some enthusiasm around election years. I just wanted to say that I will not be running for re-election in November, and I wanted to say that as early as possible so anyone who was interested in running for City Commission could reach out to me, or I'm sure the rest of the commissioners would be happy to talk to you. I've been on the commission for this will be my 8th year. I believe it's time to let somebody else do it for a while. And yeah, I just want to let everybody know. Please reach out to me or our other commissioners. And if it's something that you've thought about doing or ever wanted, give it a try, I really recommend it. Putting yourself out there like that will teach you a lot about yourself and the community you live in. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just want to put that out there that anybody who's looking to run in November. Amy, I don't know, when's the deadline for signatures? It's
July, I think.
Yeah. What I will share is I was so surprised that the nominating petitions in a city like Pleasant Ridge, what is it,
25?
25.
Yeah.
So the bar's kind of low, and I'm sure anyone who's interested could round up 25 supporters. So just putting that out there. If that's something you're interested in, please reach out to me or any of the commissioners. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Well, I think you've just helped us fill the room in weeks to come. We will soon find out who is interested in running, because all of a sudden they will start showing up at commission meetings. Just saying. Any other issues? No. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support?
Aye.
All in favor?
Yeah.
We are adjourned.
Good job.